Hi, my name is Joe Foy. I'm National Campaign Director for the Wilderness Committee, and this is another on-the-ground report, this time from the district of Langley, very near the Fraser River, just east of the little village of Fort Langley. I'm here to see the McLellan Forest, a beautiful remnant of old forest that local residents are working to protect. The McLellan Forest is located about 60 kilometers east of Vancouver. The neighbors of McLellan Forest had hastily put together an event which they called Art in the Park. It was meant to bring as many people as possible in to see the endangered forest, because this forest, though publicly owned, was about to be put up for sale by Langley Township. I had been asked to come and videotape the event and to speak in favor of preservation of the forest. And when I stepped into McLellan Forest, I was treated to a real treat, an amazing mixture of activism and art for all generations.
We figured that this tree is perhaps between 200 and 240.
Park around Thanksgiving, and we were so struck by the beauty of it, and that we started finding out more about what was happening, about the possibility of its imminent sale. And we have some speakers today who are going to explain the heritage and ecological value of this site.
So I came out, started looking at it, and again, just in a very short amount of time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, Stuart got me through the trails, and so I saw the cottonwood, I saw just this incredibly diverse forest community. So if you start to explore further out in the trails here, you see a number of these different forest communities, and they're all sort of identified by the plants, the plant associations. And having looked at some of the research, and this is a big part of this, sort of from my thinking, is that the township has no right to offer this piece of land up for sale until they know scientifically how significant it is. Right? We have no idea. So just looking around the forest, Stuart and I, we took about 3 hours, and again, like I said, it has a logging history, so it's, a lot of the cedar it's all second growth. This is second generation forest. It is what would be classified as old, or mature to old growth. It's transitioning to old growth. It's mature to old. Some of the cedar, they may have been very young trees growing in sort of wet, swampy areas where they wouldn't have logged them. Again, they could be anywhere from 90 to 240 years old. Some of the hemlock, again, same thing. It is really a jewel in Langley Township, sort of natural heritage, and it's something that I think we just really have to spend the time to work on protecting. But it's, like I said, it's good to see everybody here today. So I think with that said, I will turn the microphone over again. Thank you.
Well, I think that we are all here in this place, in this time, to practice attentiveness to this incredibly beautiful, I would say sacred place. We're here to give this place our attention, and that is a mighty thing. Iris Murdoch and Nietzsche both felt that art was more powerful than politics in bringing people to insight and in acting real change. So here we are, all artists at heart, to give our attention to this fabulous place. And so thank you so much for coming. Write those letters. Give this place your attention. We can't let it be bulldozed.
Hi, thank you, Susan. It's an honor to be here and to walk through this forest, which I just did. I'm going to share with you a site-specific performance, and basically that is, as I come as a dance artist in the natural world, it is a co-creation. It is not me just dancing in the natural world. It is a place, as Erica talked about, attentiveness. It's the artist listening deeply to what the earth wants to move through us. And
the poet Tagore said, "The first flower on the earth was the unborn song. This forest is the unborn song."
Both the pieces I read today reflect that, I hope. In Surrey, we're certainly facing the same challenges as you are here, so I'm very proud to be here. Begin with a single tree alone in a grassy field. Observe the obstinate way its trunk wrenches ever upward, sustained by the very earth it pulls itself from.
Just a little piece from my book, The Fisher Queen, which was released by Heritage House Publishing on September the 1st. So this is a new creative child in the world. Padding along the spongy trail, we fell into a silent, dreamy rhythm, lulled by the pulse of life around us. Vegetation didn't just grow in the rainforest, it vibrated and hummed in a million shades of green, so intense you could almost taste the chlorophyll.
Can't cut down the forest, my friends are closing. They bring the friendship with me.
And it's because of a group of dedicated local people who've come together in a group called Watchers of Langley Forests, W.O.L.F, that we owe our thanks for that, the fact that they're standing here today even. So I'd like to call on Scott Perry as a representative of W.O.L.F to come and explain the situation that has developed and is developing right now. Thank you, Scott.
Well, hello everybody. You'll have to excuse me, I'm not overly prepared. Mark asked me just shortly before 2 o'clock if I would speak on behalf of the organization. Is that better? Does everybody hear me okay? Yeah. It's really great to see everybody here. I want to thank Mark and Susan and everyone who contributed to make this event possible today. And you know, I have a really first question that comes to mind is, who's is this the first time here? Welcome all. You know, and I guess the second follow-up question I have is, how many know or are aware that there's a west section of this forest as well? And has anybody been there? Yeah. You know, you can talk to some of the people that are involved. We can give you some information about the west section of the forest, what we call McLellan Park Forest. We're in the east section here. A little bit of background. I think judging from Mark's introduction, maybe it would be helpful. We became aware that the township of Langley were selling these properties here, as well as on the corner of 84th and 252nd, really by just good fortune and the work of one individual. One of our neighbors, we live up on 252nd Street, and one of our neighbors became aware that these properties were up for auction. On the BC Bid website, they were put up for auction by the Township of Langley, and the total public announcement was 3 newspaper segments in the local newspapers. The vast majority of the local residents had no idea that this was happening. This one neighbor put a notice in our mailbox, and in the mailbox of a number of our neighbors saying, are you aware that this is happening, that the township is planning on dividing these up into 5-acre lots and selling them as, for lack of a better word, estate properties. Taking this, what is a private, or what is a public asset, what has been used as a park, and what has been left intact for at least 80 years, if not longer, and it's going to become private property. It inspired some individuals, and I need to really feel a desire to just point out the drive and the energy that Stuart Buchholz and Barb Shelley put in bringing people together. And so part of what's happened is we have formed a society called Watchers of Langley Forests, or W.O.L.F. The Township of Langley decided to made a declaration in the summer saying that they were going to compromise and they were going to preserve part of the area, and that was the west section. And at this point in time, it isn't preserved. It's been taken off the sale block, but it's still, as this property is in the township's inventory of excess property. And our goal as W.O.L.F. is to not only save these properties, but to preserve them. And that's where we're hoping that all of you will help. We have the Township of Langley has taken these properties off the market for the time being, up until December 17th.
Really, it's a privilege to be able to speak today. I'm not a scientist, I'm not an environmentalist, I'm a teacher and a union leader, but I'm also someone who's been very involved in my community for the almost 20 years that I've lived here in Fort Langley. And so what I'd like to say today is when I first heard that these pieces of land were on the block for sale, I was contacted by a number of people who asked me if I would attend Township Council meetings and if I would write to the mayor and councillors and express my voice and express my opinion, which I did. And I did receive emails in return. I did attend Township Council meetings. I was fortunate enough to hear the presentations by Stuart Buchholz, which were absolutely fantastic. And at that time, I was quite disappointed that the response from Township Council was more of a challenge to me. If I was so opposed to this, then where did I suggest that they go and find the money to build the rec center in Aldergrove? And they turned it into a, well, you can have this or you can have that, and it's your choice. And if you're hoping to be a future politician, you have to learn how to make these tough decisions. Well, to me, this isn't a tough decision, and it isn't a choice of either or. Of course, those who live in Aldergrove would like the opportunity to have recreational facilities. Nobody's opposed to that. But this is something that can't be bought. This can't be replaced. Once it's gone forever. There will be countless rec centers built in my lifetime and my children's lifetime. There will not be countless opportunities to preserve a forest such as this.
Another would-be candidate contacted me just before I left with both email and phone call and asked if I would, because of the late planning for this event, he wasn't able to come, but he asked if I would read this out. This is a message from Shane Dyson. I went out to the park area and tromped around just after Stuart Buchholz made his first presentation to council about this. I'm very supportive of the lands being designated as a park, as I thought they had been for many years. I'm furious that council pits one community against another. There's no doubt that the residents of Aldergrove, of which Shane is one, I'm told, deserve better civic facilities. But to pay for them by selling off a jewel in another area of the township is wrong. And I believe this wrong is compounded by demanding township residents buy back lands that they already own. It's absurd. It's odd that the township found money to purchase the nursery close to the Langley Event Center. So that's the message from Shane. We're going to pretty close to our last speaker. I've got a few words after him. But I'd like to introduce Joe Foy, who's the National Campaign Coordinator for the Western Canada Wilderness Committee. Joe is a veteran of many, many protected areas campaigns, and in fact grew up very close to here. He's a valley boy. So Joe, thank you for coming out today.
Well, I'm very happy I was asked to come out here today, and I've been wondering what the heck I'm going to say. I was born in 1954. My parents had a chicken farm on Barrie Road, 208th Street, and I've seen the changes in our community. My grandmother was born in Vancouver in 1903. And I knew my grandmother very, very well. So from her stories, I know of the times when she was born, the world moved with horses and steam in this part of the world. Paddle wheelers, boats coming up the Fraser River. And I know my grandkids, and I know them well. And I wonder what this part of the world will be like. I know that we can build a lot of things. It feels like this place is certainly more prosperous than when I was born in our tar-papered covered farmhouse on Barrie Road. And it's strange to me that in this time that we don't know how to build what you're standing in. We can't recreate it. We can only protect it. We are being told by some of our elected leaders that we somehow, after all this time, after holding on to this forest through tough times, that now in these relatively prosperous times, we can no longer afford to protect it. It seems to me a very, very foolish idea, a wrong idea. Of course we can afford to protect it, but more than that, more important than buildings, more important than just about anything, is the spirit of our people, and especially our young people. The youngest of us here today are the ones that are going to tell this story to their grandkids, the very youngest ones. And those are the people I speak to today. Let's make sure that the story they tell to their grandkids is that throughout the Metro Vancouver area, throughout the Fraser Valley, neighborhoods stood up like this neighborhood and held on to their natural areas to pass them along. Let's make sure that story is the story that we tell. Yeah. Now, yeah, you've got a very short time frame. Your municipal government is coming at you very wrong. You all know that they've framed this absolutely wrong. They're trying to this forest. They're trying to steal it from the people, trying to make the people believe that they have to buy back their own stuff. And many neighborhoods in our communities don't have a forest like this, and if they do, it's not on public land. It would be like saying we have to pave Stanley Park to do the improvements we need to do to St. Paul's Hospital. That's what they're telling you here. So I want to thank everybody here for alerting your neighbors. At the Wilderness Committee, we'll do our best to let our 60,000 members and supporters know about this forest, know how important it is, and we'll keep on coming out to these events as we go through the next 50 days to see if we can get every square inch of these precious, precious lands protected. Thank you so much for doing this.
Consider whether you'd be willing to express your views directly to them as a delegation to council. Write a letter to the local and regional newspapers, the Langley Times, the Advance, the Aldergrove Star, Vancouver Sun, and the Province. Write to MLA Rich Coleman and ask that the province do what it can to help out here. And in that vein, I just wanted to give you one more tidbit of information. After a Fort Langley-based environmental consultant named Phil Henderson did voluntarily, just on his own, with a naturalist, a longtime naturalist named Glenn Ryder, did an inventory and a report that identified the uniqueness of this particular forest ecosystem. Now, it's a lot of what you hear from the politicians is that this is not really that different than Derby Reach Park or some other park that we have. But in fact, what Phil and Glenn have identified is the rarity of this particular forest stand. And without getting into a lot of technical details, what you need to know is that it's just like Professor Jordan said earlier, this is coastal western hemlock biogeoclimatic zone, but it's a certain variant of that. It's called the XM1, which is the dry maritime. And this I happen to know from other planning work that was kind of rare. So I contacted, I noticed this was picked up by the Henderson-Ryder report, which is available online. And I happened to call the senior ecosystems biologist for the Ministry of Environment, who's based in Chilliwack. And I sent him a copy of the report, and I said, what do you think? Is this correct? And how much coastal western hemlock of this variant is protected? And this is what he said. I'm just going to read a couple of the final conclusions. I would agree with the statement below about rarity, and that if not conserved, it will be extirpated. And that means there won't be any more of it. Oh. He says they have a system where they try to identify forest types by zones and protect a certain percentage of each type. And he says that my bet is that the amount of old of this particular type is well below 9% provincially in Chilliwack district. This means that this 25 acres is all the more rare and valuable, even if fragmented and only mature old. The authors allude to the state of coastal western hemlock in their report. So this is coming from the senior ecosystems biologist for the Ministry of Environment. So continuing, you can make that point. The province could do a couple of things here. I don't know, it's up to them, to figure out how they can help, but they might be able to help Langley fund the community center, or they might be able to purchase this as an ecological reserve. We had one of the retired parks planners whose job it was for decades to go around in southwestern British Columbia and Vancouver Island and determine which forest ecosystems ought to be protected in the ecological reserve process. He's been here, and he said, he's the one who suggested and put the idea in my head, that this should be an ecological reserve. The province has the authority to do that. It can be sorted out. I'd even write your MP, Mark Warawa. I wrote him recently, and we're just at the first beginning of some helpful suggestions around possibilities for the federal government. And then finally, the sixth thing on the list is let your neighbors know. We've got a 50-day time fuse. Bring them here and ask them to do all these other 5 things above. And please don't leave without taking one of these and signing a card. And thank you all so much. Thanks to all the performers, the writers, the musicians, the dancers. Thanks for all of you for coming out. And enjoy the forest.
Well, now it's up to you. If you think that Langley's McLellan Forest should be protected, get over to your computer, Google up McLellan Park Blog. You'll have all the information there for you to write your letter and make a difference. This has been Joe Foy with another on-the-ground report for the Wilderness Committee. You can learn more at wildernesscommittee.org. That's wildernesscommittee.org. Bye for now.